Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video, bringing you the latest in esports news. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, of course, we're going to be talking about Overwatch. I'm obsessed with it, aren't I? I never shut up about that Overwatch League. But there's been some interesting developments in what is supposed to be the largest esports league of its type. And finally, Activision Blizzard have admitted that maybe they've got problems and they're going to have to change some things, which I'm incredibly surprised about, honestly. The reality is Activision Blizzard, like most games developers, don't like to admit when they have problems, don't like to admit when they have mistakes. It's a little bit more complicated for Activision Blizzard because there's a shareholder consideration. They got to not make the investors flighty or say anything publicly that could devalue stock. So it's very hard for them to say, well, we fucked up. But there's been just so many issues with the Overwatch League lately, especially as Valorant has emerged, and while it's in a closed beta, is actually eating into the player pool of Overwatch in a significant way, just on a pro level, just on the Overwatch League level. That's before we even think about what it's going to do casually to the game when it's fully released. The erosion of Tier 2 esports in Overwatch has been one of those things. It's been unbelievable that Blizzard honestly thought you could just have no lower tier to the pyramid at all. I can't even understand the thought process there. And there is no point in being a Tier 2 Overwatch player now if you have any professional aspirations. I've said it many times. Some people think this is being mean-spirited, but you'd be much better going and getting just a job, just a regular job. Certainly, with the way the economy's heading, if you can get an opportunity to get a job or commit to Overwatch, it's not even a debate as to what you should do. But yeah, it's just awful. It's in an awful place. And then there were some statistics released today that I'm going to just weave into this overall conversation about the Overwatch League. They've had a 64% year-upon-year reduction since they moved across to YouTube. Now, listen, we all knew that viewership was going to take a hit. Twitch is the place to be if you're serious about your esports broadcasting, if you want to get the most eyeballs. But a 64% drop, you can see that, you know, on average, they're not even getting 50,000 viewers for their games now. That is unthinkable for this sort of third year of the project that was touted to be the largest esports undertaking. It was going to be this wonderful league. It was going to be, you know, unprecedented. And I think finally the penny is starting to drop, not just with fans, because I know fans are starting to wake up to the fact that the Overwatch League isn't going to do all the things that it said it was going to do, and it's never going to captivate audiences like other games do. But on top of that, I think now investors, sponsors, they're like, why would we put money into this for this type of return, especially when we start heading into a recession and marketing budgets are going to start drying up? The Overwatch League has a lot of problems. Now, they finally decided to address these problems. It's a Reddit post, because of course it is. But for those who don't know who John Spector is, John Spector is the vice president of Overwatch esports at Activision Blizzard. And man, he must be incredibly proud with what he's built in the 3 years. We've got players leaving for games that don't even have a competitive scene. We've got no tier 2 or amateur scene. We've got players leaving in droves. We're down to about 5th in Korean PC bangs. And on top of all of that, your top-tier broadcast talent has left and has nothing good to say about you since they've left, proving that you mistreated them while they were there. So lots to address, lots to get into. And this is the first time I've ever seen an executive associated with Overwatch that's still at the company say, yep, you know what? We fucked up in a few areas. Like, we have got some areas to work on. So in case you missed it and you're interested, because I know a lot of my audience aren't necessarily Overwatch fans per se, but they care about esports holistically, and therefore the Overwatch League, when it does invariably collapse, how much of an effect is it going to have? When's it going to happen? What are the reasons going to be? These are things that'll probably interest you. And this post will give you some insight into what Activision Blizzard are trying to do to just stem the bleed right now. So you can see, hey, Overwatch League fans, we have the best fans in the world. Always open up with pandering to your fans when you've got to come cap in hand. As you'll see over the course of me reading this post, it is a masterclass in how to write a lot but actually say nothing, and how to say there's problems but propose no realistic solutions. Anyway, we have the best fans in the world. Of course you do. And I want you to hear directly from us on a range of topics we've seen from our community and talk about what's coming next for Overwatch League. Prepare for a wall of text accordingly. 2020 season plans. We were also excited about homestands in 2020. The first several went better than we could have hoped for too. The feedback we received from attendees has been amazing, and we do think there is a lot to build on when these events are able to resume. That said, responding to COVID-19, the current global pandemic, the right way and prioritizing the health and safety of our players, fans, staff, and partners meant shifting to online matches immediately, and that's been a bumpy road in a lot of ways. We think the production quality has gotten a lot better as we've worked through new workflows, and we're pushing hard to bring back things like player cameras that will make the show even better. We're also super excited about the new tournament structure for May, and assuming that goes well, we hope to do something very similar for June and July as well, perhaps with some tweaks in the specific tournament structures. So first, homestands in the third year were meant to be the fix. They were meant to be the moment when all of these sports firms, all of these VC firms, they got a return on their investment. That was what they were. That's why they were beating their chest and saying, look, Dallas Fuel sold out their first homestand, and I'm sure they're going to make money on it. So isn't this great? This is the future. This is the revenue stream. If you invest in our league, you're going to have a stadium, a home stadium, and so many games per year are going to be played in those stadiums, and you're going to be able to make money off that. Well, first of all, that's a load of horse shit, and I've written about this and talked about this, but of course nobody who needs to hear it listens to what I have to say about Overwatch, and never has, but everything I've predicted so far is coming true. So let me just also add that that was the biggest load of bluff and bluster ever. Putting bums on seats is one thing. We do that a lot in esports. We do that a lot in stadiums. Making people pay the same premium price for a sports ticket to attend an esports event, that's a different ballpark. Selling jerseys, that's a different ballpark. And all my sources internally, which I hope by now people realize they do have these sources, have said that no, that homestand, it might have sold out in the sense that there weren't any spare seats. They exaggerated the numbers in the press release. You'll notice 10,000 isn't the same as 5,000 twice when it comes to people sitting down. Just to let you guys know, but equally as well. The reality is that that homestand didn't make that much money. Think about the revenue that you have to expend to just hire the venue, and then you've got to get a return on it, and you're giving away tickets. And no, absolutely not. In fact, there were meetings internally that were like, well, we need to see more money from future homestands. That was a big thing that was going on strategically indoors. Now, that being said, it still was better than nothing. And the perceptions, the homestands were the first good things Overwatch League's had to talk about in a while. Like, look, regional esports can work. Look, people are sitting down. Look, this can work. Trust us. The fact that COVID-19's come along and now blew that out the water, it's been hugely damaging for Overwatch. And as we've seen from the numbers I've just shown you, the Overwatch League has had a 64% drop in viewership at a time when all other online esports are reporting that their viewership is going up. The homestands were so necessary for the success of the Overwatch League model, and COVID-19 has kicked the shit out of the Overwatch League like nothing else in esports. It's the most profoundly affected by the pandemic. So they're in terrible shape from that perspective. Also, I got to say, when they talk about the health and safety of their players and how they had to immediately go to online matches, it's incredible to me that, considering for 2 years the online play was sort of your bread and butter, and you had it hermetically sealed in a studio, and you were basically, you were able to kind of pivot pretty quickly when things came up. The production for this year has inarguably gone backwards. They They made so many mistakes in the first few weeks, like really embarrassing amateur hour mistakes, which at a time when the overall production value in esports is going up, are frankly embarrassing to have. And yes, they've got their broadcast to a place where it looks okay, it's competent, but they don't have any big names attached to it from a broadcast perspective. That's no disrespect to the people who do a great job over at the Overwatch League. I love them all. I love and respect them all. I've got many friends on that broadcast team. I think many of them are supremely talented, and if anything, are chronically underutilized by Activision Blizzard. But by and large, they're the ones who were there because they were willing to stick around and be lowballed in a lot of ways. So the production has been terrible. I don't know why they're trying to like jazz it up that they finally got to some sort of vague level. The online plays, and it's showing. People aren't watching. Anyway, let's just move on. Viewership and viewership rewards. So they don't often talk about viewership. In fact, Activision Blizzard love to just obfuscate that number as much as they can. They're talking about it now. But as you're going to see, they say a lot without saying anything. We made the decision to move to YouTube because we believe in the long-term potential of the partnership, though we fully expected some challenges as we worked to transition our audience that had spent years watching us on Twitch. YouTube has some amazing tech, particularly around VOD. We believe a solid VOD system allows our global fan base to more easily watch Overwatch League matches at convenient local times. YouTube remains committed to working with us to deliver an amazing viewing experience for you and help us win over new fans around the world. Well, look, I'm just going to tell you exactly why they moved across to YouTube. I'm sure you already know. It's because Twitch weren't going to pay them the money anymore. Understand the fundamental mechanics of what went on with the Twitch deal, this fabled $90 million deal for exclusivity for 2 years, $45 million a year. Well, Twitch internally, first of all, the $90 million was I've been told by many people, they didn't even get the full amount. It was commensurate to other performance bonuses that they obviously didn't meet. Second of all, the deal even then was massively overpriced for what they got out of the benefit of it. They were meant to be doing this revenue share from stuff that you would order through Twitch and spectator passes and stuff. Sales were disappointing. Revenue, therefore, was disappointing, and overall viewership's been disappointing. There was absolutely no chance Twitch were going to pay anything close to $45 million to have Overwatch for another year. So immediately, Blizzard had to pivot. They were talking to TV companies. They were talking to, and they're still talking to TV companies. Anybody that can give them a deal. And YouTube, their entire gaming aspect has been some of the most bungled and badly handled in the whole of streaming and broadcasting. So they probably thought they were getting a deal with whatever the fuck it was. Wasn't it like, 106, well, I can't even remember now, but it works out at about, 60 mil per year. But that is for the Call of Duty League, the Overwatch League, and Hearthstone esports thrown in there as an afterthought, which shows you how much Activision Blizzard give a fuck about that scene. They're done with you, by the way, Hearthstone, just like they were with Heroes of the Storm. That's why they're trying to price gouge you for Battlegrounds. Video coming about that later. But anyway, they went there because YouTube were willing to pay the money to have the content. VOD system. Sponsors don't care about your VOD or your hits. You're not a fucking influencer. You're a sports league. The metric of success for sports leagues has always been live peak viewership. And you simply do not have that right now and will not achieve it on YouTube. And it's not YouTube's fault. You have a shitty product. You have a shitty broadcast for a shitty game with an unbalanced esport. You need to fix the fucking game, then balance the esport correctly, then invest in your amateur path to pro scene, and maybe you can salvage this. You will not do any of those things, because to do those things will be to admit you made mistakes and to listen to people like me, which you consider you would rather fail than do that. So that's fine. The scene is dead. It's on life support now after 3 years. But yeah, the viewership has been diabolical. And I also just want to point out, discovery on YouTube, notoriously terrible. Discovery on YouTube is a notoriously bad thing. No one is going to go to YouTube, be served up the Overwatch League in a VOD, and then they're going to go, wow, this is wicked. I really want to be a fan of this team. No, it's a fantasy. Twitch, the discovery is way better. People know where to go, where to find things. It's for live streams. It's for live broadcasts. YouTube are always going to be catching up on that, and in particular on esports and gaming events. Anyway, we are not satisfied with where things are today, so we are working with YouTube to improve discoverability of our content while looking at other changes to build excitement and raise the stakes. The May tournament is a good example of a change in response to that feedback, and I'm excited to share that we are a few weeks away from bringing back token drops for watching on overwatchleague.com and our mobile app. Viewership rewards on YouTube's platform are still being worked on, but we're excited to have some form of viewership incentives for fans very soon. Now, I don't mind viewership rewards. Drops have been in place in CSGO and other games. It would be monumentally hypocritical of me to criticize, these methods of inflating viewership. But when you consider how bad your viewership is and was towards the end on Twitch before you even moved to YouTube, when you were deliberately misrepresenting your broadcasts as being live broadcasts when they were reruns so people could come in, idle them, and get drops, and then you could inflate your statistics so you could go to investors and say, well, look at the hours watched. Yeah, of course your hours watched are up. You're counting reruns, and you got more games this season. You're having a fucking lend of everyone that is investing in your league, and when they realize they've been burnt, they're going to blame esports. They're not going to blame you. They'll still go to dinner with Bobby Kotick. That's why what you're doing is an outrage to people like me. But anyway, the bringing back the drops, it is not the panacea you think it is. It is not going to fix the problem, because at the end of the day, yeah, there's going to be bots. There's going to be bots count. There's going to be people idling. That shit's way easier to do on Twitch, by the way, than it is on YouTube. So just putting that out there. So good luck thinking it's going to be the shot in the arm. But I think the people who do stick with the league and do watch the league should get rewards for doing so. And I think it's a no-brainer to put that in. I just don't think it's going to give you the big spike that you're hoping for. It would have to be something amazing. It would have to be something very special indeed. One other big bright spot for us here. This bit's brilliant, guys. You're going to love this. One of the big bright spot for us here is that we're setting records for Overwatch League viewership in Asia now that some matches are being played in prime time there. And the enthusiasm from the fans there has been really great to see. Oh, Lord. I can't even believe they've done this. Like, John, mate, we fucking know that Chinese numbers are a lie, no matter what it is. Whatever it is, China's lying about it. They lie about money. They lie about fucking viewing numbers. It's just, there's a cottage industry in bullshit in China, and everybody knows it. And if you don't know it in esports, you're fucking unbelievably naive. The reality is this. Chinese streaming numbers are inflated garbage, and here's how I'll prove it to you. They said 5 million people. There was a fucking Reddit thread about it. They put an announcement out going 5 million people, and then you look into it, and then you realize that, oh, it doesn't mean 5 million people. It means that there's a score, so it's almost like 5 million people would be reached, and it's nonsense. If you are honestly now trying to turn around and say Chinese numbers prove that your audience is growing in a key market, holy shit, I'm embarrassed for you. And any investor that is happy with that, while in the real key market in the West, all metrics are down across the board, well, they're idiots too. They're running their business very poorly. I honestly can't believe it. And the enthusiasm, no, it's not even worth breaking apart anymore. The reality there is to come and sort of say, hey, viewership's up if we include Chinese numbers is the most outrageous nonsense I think I've ever seen. Player retirements. Overwatch League features the best 200 Overwatch players in the world, many of whom have previous professional experience from other games like Counter-Strike, TF2, and League of Legends. Players falling in love with other games and choosing to pursue them is a choice we understand, but obviously it's disappointing to see a top player like Sinatra leave competitive Overwatch. So this is the story I did another video about, Sinatra leaving the Overwatch League. This is a World Cup winner, this is a season winner, left San Francisco Shock while still going to play, still under contract, to go and play for a game that has no esports scene. So what he's done there, linguistically, cleverly trying to trick you, is implying that Overwatch players were coming from other games to go play in the OWL, that it was high-level pros from Counter-Strike and high-level pros from League. It's garbage. It's absolute nonsense. That you might have attracted some people who've tried those things. There has never been a situation like Sinatra in esports, and that should tell you its own thing. But yep, they're trying to trick you into thinking that, oh, well, first it was Overwatch League, and now it's Valorant. What goes around comes around. No, absolute bullshit. You're lying. Players falling in love with other games is one thing. He is choosing, and many players are choosing, to leave a professional league with a guaranteed minimum salary of $50,000 a year to go and chance it in someone else's esport that doesn't have a scene or a guaranteed salary or a league to play in or anything televised. Why? Because they fucking hate the game that you've made, and they hate being a pro and all the pressure and expectations that come for no reward at the end of the day, next to no reward. But B, they trust Riot Games to do a better job with their esport than you have done with yours, because you are Activision Blizzard. Every time you start sticking your fingers in the esports gumbo, the shit under your fingernails comes off, gets in the stew, and poisons everyone. That's just the reality. You fucked it up so many times now. And people are like, well, who am I going to trust? Riot, they built the most successful and popular esport in the world, or Activision Blizzard, who have fucked up every esport they've ever got heavily involved in and got pure fluke with StarCraft that they've never shut the fuck up about. So Sinatra leaving, he talks about and says they're going to release the skin, but he then goes on to say, we also know from talking to our players and teams that COVID-19 has placed an incredible amount of stress on many of them. Competing at the highest level during a scary situation when you can't interact with your teammates and in many cases far from home and family is really challenging. We and our teams have worked hard to support players, including things like providing free world-class health and wellness resources. But I do expect more players will make difficult decisions to prioritize things other than their professional careers in this environment. We wish them all the best and understand and respect those decisions. They'll always be a part of the Overwatch esports family. Great how you don't extend that same love and courtesy to the people on the broadcast who you said never really cared about Overwatch anyway, but neither here nor there. To blame COVID-19 for players retiring from your game, to even intimate that that is a factor right now, is disgusting. It makes light of an awful situation that is ruining millions of lives across the world. And frankly, it's what I've come to expect from Activision Blizzard. Everything is the answer. Never them, never scrutiny. They're using COVID-19 as a scapegoat here. Players making the difficult decision to leave, it's got nothing to do with COVID. It's not a difficult decision at all, because they are taking a huge risk on paper, if you look at it, to go and play in a non-existent esport. But they just would rather do it. They can see an upside. Sticking around and playing Overwatch and being part of the Overwatch League has lost all its shine, all its allure. You did that, not a global pandemic. Don't pretend you weren't hemorrhaging players to Valorant before fucking the pandemic had gone full-blown and we were shutting stuff down. No, it's an absolute disgrace to even bring that to the table as a factor, frankly, but that's just that. Tier 2 and the path to pro. I also want to talk a little about Tier 2 and Tier 3 competitive Overwatch. We've heard a lot of feedback from players, organizations, and the community about the path to pro ecosystem. While the system has produced many exciting Overwatch League players over the last few years, we know it hasn't met many other goals that we all have for this part of the pro scene. Our path to pro team is actively exploring potential changes to the model. One early idea we think has a lot of potential is running more community tournaments, as we believe the recent breakable barriers and echo tournaments were very successful and fun for the broader competitive community. But there is they don't even understand what the problem is. So first of all, there is no solution proposed there about what you're going to do to fix Tier 2. Absolutely none. They just say, yeah, we know it's bad, it's fucked. We're going to try and do something about it best as we can. So fair enough, right? But what you're also failing to acknowledge there is what the tournaments they're talking about. They're not tier 2. They're like amateur. This isn't like an academy side tournament. These are like community tournaments. This has got nothing to do with the fundamental problem. Yes, it's great to have community tournaments because for many people who go on to be professional in esports, you start in community cups, you start playing with friends, you start in low level leagues and ladders and build your way up. Your tier 2, your contenders, is meant to be part of the landscape of your league, and what you're doing here is really just sort of frivolously, yeah, listen, we're going to have some more community cups and that's going to fix everything. Absolutely not. You've got to fix the way contenders works. There's a reason that none of your high-level teams want to even bother having an academy side anymore. It doesn't benefit them. You don't even tweet out when the fucking games are on. For fuck's sake, the minimum level of effort from you required to promote your tier 2 league, you will not do. So why should anyone waste their money and their time on it if you are not willing to tweet? So that, no solution, doesn't fix the problem. Doesn't even acknowledge the real problem with tier 2, which is simply put, there is no upside to doing it. Hero pools. The Overwatch dev team posted a longer update about hero pools just now, which we believe is another positive revision of the system for Overwatch League. Hopefully you've all seen this as a system we will continue to refine and improve in response to feedback. We are so appreciative of your continued support for the Overwatch League. We strive to be a fan-first league, and this is something we're going to do more of to be better communicate with you directly. And if you somehow haven't seen this story, it's worth a read too, and it's a Halsey Diva Overwatch cosplay. Right. The hero pools thing, I won't go too much into it. It's not my jam. I don't follow the game. I think the implementation of hero pools is an anathema to the spirit of the game. I think you come out of the GOAT meta, you now start doing these like 2-2-2, and we're banning out certain heroes and stuff. I think this is all garbage, and I think it's a terrible environment for a pro to have to play in, for pro teams to strategize and theorize and practice in. But anyway, the fact that you then continue, and you should get rid of it, and you should just balance your game instead of admitting we don't know how to balance the game, so we're just going to ban you from playing certain heroes at certain times, and we're just going to see what happens. That is a surrender to your job as a games developer. You've just given up at that point. But anyway, this fan-first league, this is all Overwatch League has. Look at Halsey, look at this celebrity, right? Which, by the way, I don't even trust that they aren't out there paying these celebrities to fucking do these things, because outside of the hardcore enclave of disturbed Overwatch players that obsess about me, I've never met real Overwatch fans in the wild. Like, everyone I know that's like a gamer is like, yeah, I used to play Overwatch, used to be fun, it's not now, I play something else. That's pretty much the extent of the Overwatch League. The idea that all these celebrities are like, I want to get down with the kids, so I'm going to talk about Overwatch. Well, you're limiting your audience by doing that. So that reeked of fucking paid opportunity to me. But look at what they're saying. Guys, we fucked up. We've got all these problems in the league, but here's a celebrity dressed up as one of the characters. That is it. That is what they have. That is all they have. It's incredible. So, look. While I think it's a massive step in the right direction for an Overwatch executive to admit that the Overwatch League has problems and they are addressing them and they're working on them, there's nothing in that post that even tells you what they're addressing, what they're doing, what changes they're going to make, and it seems to me they don't have a strategy. I think right now they are braced for the worst, and I think we're going to get maybe one more year in this YouTube deal. I think we go through 2021, and then I think we're going to have to start scaling things down even more than they already are, because this doesn't look like a problem that can be fixed. As I said, on day one when they announced all of this, and they announced $20 million investments, the one thing that is true for the 20 years of esports we can observe, you cannot manufacture an esport. It has to come from slow, organic grassroots. Overwatch League failed to learn that lesson, and that's why they're in this mess. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, me breaking it down, giving my thoughts, a bit of editorial alongside the facts. I'm deeply sorry to all the Overwatch League fans that are seeing all their worst nightmares come true, and executives not really know what they're doing. Still, you were always a bit of a shit-forced meme, so that's life. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.